A beautiful tale of the destruction of the wicked. I'd like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai B'Hashem Ruach Kudash. Welcome to another live lesson. We just heard the name of it, a beautiful tale of the destruction of the wicked. I'm joined with the elders Kanak
Shalom.
and War.
Shalom, shalom.
And pretty much, I was reading through the book of Revelation 18, and it brought to mind other precepts. And I read some of the book of Isaiah 34, which Lord's will, we're going to touch on that. And there was a precept off of Revelation 18 that led me back to the book of Jeremiah 51, which shows that, whoever put these Bibles together, they know something, but they're just not telling everybody. Because you have to remember that the Bible is a book of law, statutes, commandments. It's a book of judgments, and it's a book of prophecies. And a lot of empires in the past, are mentioned in the scriptures. So here it is, you have these major empires that ruled and were, the center, of the world back then. And the scriptures speak about them, but this empire that encompasses the whole entire world, that is a major player in these last days. The Bible's not going to mention that, But the thing is, people are expecting the Bible, back 3,000, 4,000 years ago, to mention, America, say America. If it doesn't say America, then it's not, then America is not mentioned in the Bible, Let's start off with the book of Psalms, 75 and 5, because all of these things are mentioned. America's mentioned in the scriptures. All of the people of the earth today, here you go, all of the people of the earth today, are mentioned in the scriptures. They have different names today, but they're mentioned in the scriptures. And everyone on the planet, I don't care who you are, what you look like, how tall, short, fat, skinny, as you may be, all go back to Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Doesn't matter what nation you identify with in this times, what it's called, where you believe your ancestors go back to, what land you're in.
Yep.
Everybody on the planet Earth goes back to, like the apostle said, and the scriptures say, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Boom.
Okay? So everybody has a biblical nationality. So now you have to find out what's your biblical nationality, because then the scriptures will tell you your present condition and also your future condition.
Boom. That's it. So let's go. Whoever
this
got
is
it.
Psalm 75 and 5. Lift not up your horn on high. Speak not with a stiff neck.
Right. So what is a horn? Horn could be a regular horn. It could be a ram's horn. It could be an animal horn, which is, ram's horns are animal horns. Or it could be represent power. All right. So it says, lift not up your horn on high. Neither what?
It says, lift not up your horn on high. Speak not with a stiff neck.
Speak not with a stiff neck, because, but read on. It's going to explain it.
For promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south, but the Most High is the judge. He put up down one and set up another.
So the only reason why you're going to the only reason why you're going to rule in a society or an empire is because the Most High gave the okay for you to rule. You're next. See, everyone now, that Esau, they see Esau going down, they're plotting and planning against him. I meant to send you this article that a brother sent me. A Tanzanian shilling, which is the monetary system in Tanzania, they just cut the U.S. dollar out. They made a blanket, forget what the term was, blanket something, that, all transactions, business-wise or whatever the case may be, are all to be done in the Tanzanian shilling. You can't trade, buy or sell anything in that country with any foreign currencies, just the Tanzanian shilling, you know. So what's that? That's one step closer, you know, to bringing everything, you know, bringing in this digital system, you know, that's gonna, you know, encompass the whole entire planet Earth, and what it's also doing is it's, you know, breaking up the U.S. dollar, because really, when you think about it, you think that these nations are really, you know, trying to destroy the dollar, this, that, and the other. This all a ploy. They want to destroy the old system to bring in the new system. That's what it's all about. So the Lord said promotion don't come from the east or the west or the south, but the Most High is the judge. He sets up one, he takes down another. And that's the reason why empires rule.
And if I say this, the elites, they want to implode this system, but they want it to be so financially fit that they can actually destroy their own companies and still be wealthy, still have all the wealth, you know, so they just to be able to sustain, to bring the new system online, which is the MOTB system.
That's it.
It says, for the hand of the Lord, there is a cup, and the wine is red. It is full of mixture, and poureth out of the same, but the dregs thereof, and all the wicked of the earth shall wring them out and drink.
And that's what's going to happen at the end of the world, because the final analogy of all the empires of the world is total destruction. You know, the total destruction of America, you know, which will bring all of these nations down. You know, matter of fact, get Luke 21. You can start at 25. The point I think is in 26. You know, these governments of the world, these bigger governments, smaller governments that have, you know, a monetary system, that have a military system, you know, are all going to be shaken at the core when Yahushua comes back. So whenever you got that, brother.
You got? Yep, it's the book of St. Luke, chapter 21, verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations.
And we see that happening right now. You see different signs in the sun, in the moon, and stars. You see distress among the nations, because we're at the very end. Go ahead.
It says distress of nations with perplexity.
Right, because, you know, things are not looking good. The future is looking grim. Go ahead.
It says the sea and the waves roaring.
And if you brothers here, you know, want bring in any points, you know.
Okay, yeah, because like that word perplexity, it also it goes into confusion and bewilderment, but it also goes into a lack of resources. You know, so there's going to be a lack of resources down here on the earth, you know, which is going to have the nations in perplexity, you know.
Yeah, and then you see with these tariffs, what it's doing, it's making, you know, the products that people are used to having scarce, you know, more scarce, you know, so which means if the more scarce they are, the more that the person that's selling them that has a small amount can charge, you know, which will be price gouging, which is against the law. But, you know, if you are the only ones carrying that product, you know, you dictate what the price is going to be.
Yeah, that's supply and demand. That's basic economics. If there's a demand for a product and there's only a small number of, that price is going to skyrocket up. You know, that's just simple economics right there.
Right.
You know, and the people that actually own the product, they can be keeping back the actual product to be able to price, and then also price gouge as well. You know,
Verse 26. Men's hearts fell in them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth.
Right, that's the prophecies, you know, playing out, and eventually you're going to see Yahushua cracking them clouds. Go ahead.
It says, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken.
Then that's the point. The powers of heaven shall be shaken. Give me the book of Revelation. I'm sorry, not Revelation, 2 Peter 3. And you can start around 5.
okay. This is
Matter of fact, start at 3. You know, just going to kind of read down.
John, 2 Peter 3:3, knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust,
Go ahead.
and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation.
And we see that happening time and time again. You know? Go ahead.
For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of the Most High the heavens were of old.
See, boom, right there. The heavens were of old. It's not talking about the actual heavens up in the sky, or where the Heavenly Father, you know, dwells. You know, with the, you know, Yahweh Shai and the angels. It's talking about kingdoms and rulerships on the planet. You know? Read on.
It says, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished.
Right, because you had heavens or rulerships back then. You know, you had great rulerships, you know, that were in power back then. You know, prior to the flood, and then after the flood, the earth had to be repopulated again. Then it started again on that same trajectory. You know, then you had, you know, nations like Babylon and, you know, and Sumeria, you know, and the different tribes and peoples of Mesopotamia, what they call Mesopotamia, in that region, started to become stronger and stronger, greater and greater. You know, you had Egypt, so on and so forth. Go ahead.
Yep. It says, but the heavens and the earth, which are now, by the same word are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition.
He's going to totally annihilate America, Babylon the Great, their military. The land of Israel, their military. The nation's militaries. Because once you take, like, if you have a government, I don't care how great that government is, they're only as strong as their military. Once you wipe their military out, it's over. You want to say something?
No, that's it. Yeah.
Because that was the main point.
Pretty much.
You know what? Get what is that? Matthew 11. I'm not sure the exact verse dealing with Capernaum. You know, just to show you, and you could read that again in Luke. You know, just to show, unless you have something.
Oh, no, I was right there in Matthew 11:23.
Okay, yeah. If you got that, bring it out.
Okay, this say Matthew 11. You want to get straight to the point?
Yes, sir.
Yep, 11:23. And thou, Capernaum, which are exalted unto heaven, shall be brought down to hell.
Right, so they were in a lofty state. You know, they were in a very comfortable position. You know, they were doing very, very, very well. You know, so they were like in a heavenly state. So that's just, you know, another scripture to prove to you that, you know, heaven could be a condition played out on the planet Earth. You know, and these different governments of the world and these countries, you know, play a role in that, because you have the top heaven or the top government, which is America, but then you have other governments underneath, you know, that are also, you know, living that life, you know, living that comfortable life. You want to say something?
No, I got another precept for you.
Okay, bring it out.
It's Isaiah 14:12. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer?
Yeah, so the Lord is asking these international banking families, which they call themselves Luciferians. They call themselves the Illuminati, light bringers, light bearers. So he's asking them, how are you falling from heaven, O Lucifer? Because you were at the, you know, at the top, at the height of empires. You are the top empire on the planet Earth right now. Go ahead.
Yep. It says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning?
Right, son of the morning, which is a bright morning star. You know, which was, you know, we say compared to Venus, or Venus, which is the first star that you see in the morning, the bright morning star. You know, and that's what the so-called Illuminati, you know, Luciferians are. They're that bright morning star because they have the light of darkness, and they know pretty much what's going on around the world today, because they're the ones, you know, creating, you know, these different situations around the world, you know, to bring in their desired effect, which is their agenda, the New World Order. You know, and it's the Lord that's pretty much got them, you know, pushing that agenda forward. Was there more to that?
Yep. It says, how art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?
Right, so you that weaken the nations with a continual stroke, right, you're cut down. So how is it that you being the hammer of the earth, you were tearing up all these different nations, how are you brought down to desolation? How are you, in a position to where you can't dictate, call anything, you can't, you can't make any moves anymore. You're pretty much done. Go ahead.
Yep, it says, verse 13, it reads, "For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north."
Yeah, so they pretty much are established as a world empire. They have, they've actually gone up into the heavens. They've actually, have, planes and helicopters, drones, and, what have you. What's that?
Satellites. Yeah, satellites and stuff like that. Up in the heavens that set their nest amongst the stars.
That's right.
"But this will I bring thee down," said the Lord.
Yeah, so from that point, the Lord said he's going to bring you down. So when you took flight in the early 1900s, that was another part of the beginning of your demise.
It's ascend above the life, be like the Most High.
Right, and that's what they're trying to do. That's why right now they have this, technology to where they're trying to play God. They're trying to find a way to make people live forever. They're augmenting and, changing, transfiguring the creation of the Most High. Because to them, the creation of the Most High is not perfect. It's not that it's not perfect. It's perfect. It's just, going back to sin of Adam and Eve, that started a downward spiral of death. And we're working our way back, to the tree of life to live forever.
And Esau, he's the man of sin. So, the wages of sin are death. So, just by that alone, he's subject to death.
Yep.
And he wants to try to circumvent that through his technology. And that's one of the things he's boasting that these implants can do. They can extend life. Which is trying to bypass the curse of death. Okay.
Fine. All right. So was that it?
One more verse.
Okay.
Verse 15. "Yet
Okay.
thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit."
Right. You shall be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit, meaning to the grave. So your empire is going to rest. Like Afghanistan is known as the grave of empires. Well, when Yahushua comes back, he's going to make a grave of all these different empires. He's going to be King of Kings, Lord of Lords. He's going to be the one that's going to sit up on top, and all of you are going to be bowed down to him. So let's go from there to Revelation 18 and 15, unless y'all got something.
Revelation 18.
We're going to the street or?
Yeah, I think we can go here. If it's not a... Yeah, right here.
Okay.
Yep. Revelation 18 and 15, right?
Yep.
It says, "The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment."
Right, because the Lord is going to destroy the greatest empire ever, which is America. And these nations that are used to making money in this country, are going to be saddened because they're not going to be able to make any more money. But they're going to be far off because vocab, and I'm not sure who else teaches it, they said that the whole earth is going to explode, which is total bullshit, because how are these nations going to be, far off crying for the smoke of her torment if the whole world is going to be destroyed?
Well, furthermore, the scriptures say in Ecclesiastes, the earth abideth forever.
That's it.
So that goes against the precepts, the scriptures. Israel will be an everlasting kingdom. What about that?
That's it.
Which shows you that these anti-Christians, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're really just freestyling.
Yep.
They've been freestyling, but nobody was questioning them. Now they're being questioned.
Yep.
Okay.
Analytics.
It says, "And say, alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught."
Yeah, so you mean to tell me that, this prophecy that's been spoken of is not going to play out on the earth? The Lord said his words don't go out void. So it has to, pertain to somebody. So who does it pertain to? Who did the kings of the earth mourn because the place was destroyed. You know, you're not going to be able to put a finger to it. You know, who were made rich? What country or place made the whole world rich off of buying and selling? You know,
It's clear. You can't refute these things, you know? And ultimately, the people that come up and refute the truth, most of them knowingly know that we're telling the truth, but they're there to disrupt it.
That's it.
And try to destroy it. All right, they're willingly or willfully trying to deceive the people because they know what we're saying is true. All the proof is there.
That's it.
Okay, it says, and every shipmaster and all the company of ships and sailors, and as many as trade by the sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried.
Yeah, because they said, what city is like this great city? And they were talking about America. Why? Because the Apostle John on the island of Patmos saw America on fire. He saw the merchants of the earth, you know, bewailing. You know, and it's not because they felt sorry for this place. Because to be honest with you, the nations don't give a shit about America. The only thing they really care about is making money. The God of the nations is money. You know, when it boils down to it, the only nation that really has a power that they really look to is the nation of Israel, even though most Jakes look to the gods of the other nations. The other nations that have so-called gods, that's just a front. Their God, their real God is really money. That's why Yahushua said you can't serve the Most High and Mammon. You know?
It says, and they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of the costliness, of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate.
Right, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. So like I said, it's a beautiful tale of the destruction of the wicked. You know, and it's going to be a glorious thing.
Make a left.
This way. All right. Go ahead, see if I think there's more.
Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles.
Yeah, there was another point in there, but I forget where it was. Matter of fact, before you read on, go to Jeremiah 51, and I believe it starts at 63. You know, it was a precept, you know, off Revelation 18, which shows you that they're connecting the dots between this modern day Babylon, or Babylon the Great, and Babylon in the book of Jeremiah 50 and 51. You know, because when you read the book of Jeremiah 50 and 51, ancient Babylon did not go out that way, in that fashion. All of the tribes were not together in ancient Babylon. By the time ancient Babylon fell, you know, to the hands of Darius the Mede, underneath the orders of Cyrus, the northern kingdom had already long been on this side of the world, you know? So there's a lot of, you know, points within those two chapters that do not match up to ancient Babylon,
Right.
you know, which is the Neo-Babylonian Empire. So who got that?
Yeah, I got it. This the book of Jeremiah 51, I'm going to start at 60. It says, so Jeremiah wrote in a book all the evil that should come upon Babylon. Even all these words that are written against Babylon.
Right, and when he wrote it, he probably was thinking that it was talking about ancient, you know, ancient Babylon or the Neo-Babylonian Empire, but it wasn't. Go ahead.
And Jeremiah said to Sarai, when thou comest to Babylon, and shall see, and shall read all these words, then shalt thou say, O Lord, thou hast spoken against this place, to cut it off, that none shall remain in it, neither man nor beast, but that it shall be desolate forever.
Right, so pretty much that's, you know, the point. The point is that the Lord wrote about it. You know, he spoke about it. You know, he had his men bring it out and write it in prophecy, and then eventually there will be a point where you will have to speak it. No, matter of fact, get Isaiah 13, and then we'll come back to that. No, because, you know, prior to the Lord destroying any place, they're giving warning first. They're giving, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Warning, you know, for lack of a better word, a heads up before the Lord actually brings the destruction upon them. You want to say something? You got it?
Isaiah 13 where?
13:1.
13:1. Isaiah 13:1. The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see.
Right, and this is not talking about ancient Babylon or the Neo-Babylonian Empire. It's talking about the new Babylon or Babylon the Great. You want to say something?
No.
Go ahead.
It says, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain. We go to the left.
What is the banner? The banner is the Bible.
Oh, I got a piece of that one?
All right, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain. So this is not just because a mountain is a representation of governments, you know, and there's scriptures to prove that, you know. But this particular government is a high government. So the Lord is telling, you know, Isaiah to lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain. And what is that banner?
Psalm 60:4. Thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed because of the truth. Selah.
So the banner is the Bible, you know. So what are the prophets? What is the prophet's job to do? Take what's written in the book and, you know, prophesy it. You know, the ancient prophets that have been before me and before thee prophesied against ancient kingdoms of pestilence and war and destruction. You know, I'm just merely paraphrasing. You know, so that's what the prophets do. Because prior to the Lord destroying the place, what did the Lord do with ancient Egypt? He sent Moses there. He was telling the Pharaoh that the Lord was going to take them out. You know, they kept scoffing at it, you know, so on and so forth until the day that the Lord actually brought them down. And how did the Lord destroy the whole land of Egypt? No. What he did was he surgically destroyed the whole military and the leader of the military, which was the Pharaoh at the time. You see? So they took when you take the military from a particular government or nation, that whole society is going to fall apart.
Yeah, it's defenseless. And then that will give opportunity for your enemy to come in and seize control. Because how is a nation established? Really, it's established by their military. You know, the military, well, you know, like they say, like the American dollar is not backed by anything. But really, in all actuality, it is. It's backed by the American military.
Yep.
Because if a nation stops using that currency, what did America do? They came in and they overthrew that government.
Yeah.
And they set up a puppet, and then they allowed the system to continue of their world reserve currency, the US dollar.
Yeah.
Oh, just like they just did in Syria, which they've been trying to overthrow Bashar al-Assad for years, several years, right? And they finally did it. And before that, they put sanctions on Syria. They put all them sanctions on Syria to break down their economy. They overthrew his ass, and then all of a sudden Trump shows up and opens everything up. Okay? Now U.S. interest is now in that land now. Now they can control the resources.
Yeah. That's right, you know, and that's how the devil operates. You know?
Verse 2, lift ye up a banner upon a high mountain, exalt the voice unto them.
Right, exalt the voice into them, meaning tell them off. So how are you telling them off? You ain't just going in there, fuck you Esau, you goddamn devil, kiss my ass, piece of shit. You know, I'm gonna cut your head off. No, you hit them precepts, and you tell them, look, this is the judgment for it. Oh, well, why I gotta pay for it? Because you are the sons, you know, and daughters of your forefathers for what you did. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of the fathers, that they do not rise and fill the face of the earth with cities. You know, so you're being judged for what you've done for all the tribes.
And what you're doing now.
Yep.
You act like you're innocent, you know, and you're not doing anything now. You're a demon right now.
Yep.
Okay, so you're being judged from the things that you did in the past, also the things that you're doing in the present, because you're not upholding the scriptures. You should have said, you know what our fathers did was wicked. We're going to restore the pledge. We're going to restore you so-called blacks and Native Americans. We're going to rule righteously. And you have not done that, which shows you that you're just nothing but a nation of demons.
That's it.
Okay?
Yeah, and you can't do right. No matter what you do, you can't do right. Let favor be shown to the wicked, yet will he not learn righteousness. You know, and don't know how else to paint it.
Yep. It says, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles.
Right, shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles, meaning, you know, tell them off. And tell them off to the point where they got to go to the higher ups. And the gates of the nobles is not talking about Trump and the Vice President Vance and the governors and senators and mayors and, you know, different politicians. No, it's talking about the higher ups.
Yep.
all the way up the international banking families.
Yep,
You know?
because it says what lift ye up the banner upon the high mountain. The high mountain is speaking about the mountain of Esau, the actual Edomites, Amalek that actually control the whole earth. Are the wicked elite bankers. Okay, the so-called illuminated ones. They're the ones that control nations. They're the ones that control presidents, pick senators. Okay, they have control over the whole earth, over all the resources.
Yeah.
Okay,
So really, this is elite business.
Yeah.
You know,
elites against the elites.
Yep, the elites of Israel and the elites of Edom.
Yep. Yeah, because when you go and you look up the Bohemian Grove, this is where they gather, once a year, the second week, the last 2 weeks of July, which, what is it? It's almost June. Ain't no microchip. And at the middle of July, they're going to be meeting, in Sonoma County, which is the Bohemian Grove. And what do they do there? They freak off, they do whatever they do, but then they show you the bunch of bug outs. They hammer out policies for world domination, but yet on the other side of it, they're freaking off with each other.
Well, they got to do them sacrifices to their gods.
Yes, sir.
Because before policy is implemented, before anything is done, they always consult with the spirits.
Yep.
And the spirits require sacrifices.
Matter of fact,
All right, sexual magic, sacrifices, animal and children sacrifices. They do real wicked demonic acts to their gods and to receive power to be able to implement it and for it to prosper in the earth. Just like Israel, before we went to war with a nation, what did we do? We consulted with the priests, and the priests will consult with the Most High and say yay or nay. Okay, so they do the same thing on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Well, Pharaoh, he consulted with his magi's, and his magi were able to do and to duplicate certain of the plagues that the Most High sent Moses and Aaron to smite that land with.
Yep.
So Pharaoh consulted with his like the Chaldeans, the wise men. So it's the same thing that's happening today.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like the elder said, they had their priesthood. They consulted with them what should be the next move. So you can say that whole Bohemian Grove is a consultation with their witches and their priesthood. Because they do sacrifices. Now they'll tell you it's a mock sacrifice. It's not really real. Blah blah blah. But that's not true. But we're gonna find out.
Well, they're in the groves, right? And that's where they would worship.
Yep.
It's in high places and in groves. So it's the same thing all over the place.
Yeah.
All over again, excuse me.
And the thing, they require sacrifices, whether animal or human,
Right, like Balaam and Balak, right? They went up to the high places and they sacrificed bullocks, 7 bullocks, right? Balaam did to curse Israel, because you'll send prayers up to, gods, but that God was going to require a sacrifice.
That's it.
Just like today in this time amongst Israelites, our sacrifice now is the living sacrifice is what we're doing now. Okay, the rehearsing the righteous acts, the good works.
Yep.
That is now the sacrifice. But these other nations, they actually sacrifice humans and animals and blood, drink blood and do all kind of crazy shit.
Yep.
So they can appease those gods in order for those gods to give them power to be able to move forward with their agenda.
Yeah. So let's get there real quick before you read on.
Okay.
Yep. Isaiah 47:12 says, "Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth."
Right. So now that you have read that again, Salaki.
Yep.
I just lost my train of thought.
Isaiah 47:12, "Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth."
Right, because that's how America was established. They'll tell you it was established upon Christian Judeo principles, but it was really established under Masonic, so-called Luciferian, demonic, worship. It's really set up under witchcraft and sorcery. It has nothing to do with the Most High. The only thing that they have that has anything to do with the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, is the Bible. But they don't follow what the Bible says. because they're not connected with the scriptures. Go ahead. So the Lord is saying, no, you want to continue to rule, because when you read the first verse, matter of fact, read the first verse, and then we're going to jump back down, unless you have something else.
Yeah, I did have something else.
Bring it out.
This is the book of Job.
No, so the Lord is telling them, look, stand up with your enchantments, with your sorceries. You know, see if these witches, your counsel of 13s, you know, your different, you know, witchcraft and potions and enchantments and all that you do, see if it's going to help you to hold on to your empire 1 second longer. And it won't. Okay.
Job 20:11. His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall go down with him in the dust.
Right, because the sin of their youth was what? From the inception of America, which goes back even further than that, but we're just dealing with the inception of America, when America was established as a nation, so-called, you know, and how they established it. You know, this is why the majority of your presidents were what? Masons, Freemasons. But then they'll say, oh, that's not true, you know, shut the fuck up. You can't trump what the scriptures say. You know, you could say what you want, but what do the scriptures say? You know, you're talking about some sola scriptura, you know, only the scriptures, you know, but when you bring out the scriptures, say, nope, that's not what that means. Shut the fuck up. All right? You got it, bro.
Back in Isaiah 47:1, come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon.
Right, because the Most High is going to strip you of your empire. Now, the scriptures speak about, I think that's in Obadiah, where it says, you know, that you're not going to really understand why these nations are doing what they're doing to you, because you're just that demonic, you know, and you're not going to have the understanding and the know-how and the ability to get out of this quagmire. You wanted to say something?
No, that's it.
You know, you're not going to have the ability to get out of this quagmire, you know what I mean? Because the Lord got you in that trap. Remember, we read it yesterday. The Lord put you in slippery places.
Yep, and you've been the wise man for so long, not knowing that, you know, how you're using gradualism to come upon the people and trap them. The Most High has been using gradualism on your ass too. And then all of a sudden, boom, you got caught in that snare. You're destroyed. Okay, in a moment, in 1 hour. So great riches are lost.
Yep.
Okay.
And you're not going to know what to do, because you've been so used to manipulating everything behind the scenes, you know, throwing money at stuff. You think throwing money at stuff fixes all problems, and that's not the case. You know, money answers all things. Yeah, money is a defense, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, it's scriptures speak about the Medes are not going to regard silver or gold.
Right.
You know, so money ain't going to fix everything.
Yeah, the true wisdom of the Yahweh Shai, that is the defense.
That's it.
Okay, and you don't have that. The Most High has never, ever, since the beginning of time, ever dealt with the wicked on that level. Okay, he's always rejected the wicked.
Yeah.
And this is a nation that has been rejected of the Most High. Okay, and we're seeing the aftermath of that rejection. We're living in it right now. The Most High is breaking down Esau, Edom. His wise men are confounded.
That's right.
Well, just the very fact that we're able to come on the internet and speak against you, and you not able to do anything about it.
Yep.
Right then, and that shows you that you have a lack of power. Okay, and it's actually getting to you to where you have to send in spies and agents. You have to try to disrupt the truth. You can sending individuals to take brothers out. I had a dream last night that somebody tried to take out one of the brothers, you know, and try to stab him up. You know, they were sending spies to try to, and I was like, oh man, this thing is getting serious.
Oh yeah.
They're coming for our lives.
Yep.
You know, so that's not gonna prevail. Remember the scriptures say that no weapon formed against thee shall prosper.
That's right.
Okay, but every tongue that shall rise up against thee in judgment, thou shalt condemn.
That's right.
So we're here to condemn this world, okay? And Esau either doesn't like it, but it doesn't matter. The Most High has allowed us and given us that authority to be able to do this unscathed.
That's
okay?
It. Yeah, and the scriptures say, Proverbs 11:4, riches profit not in the day of evil, in the day of wrath. So go ahead. Somebody was leaking.
Yep. Isaiah 47:1. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans.
Yeah, because the Most High stripped you of it. Go ahead.
For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate.
Yeah, because you were used to living that high life. You were used to being pampered. You know, you see them so-called elites, them Amalekites, Rothschilds, Rockefellers. They walk around, you know, with their nose stuck up in the air. You know, they have a certain air about them. You know, they're polished, you know. I mean, everything that they have on, you know, costs more than your whole shitty-ass paycheck. Inside joke, you know. But it's true. The tie that they have on costs more than or is worth more than your whole paycheck.
Yeah, the cufflinks they wear.
Yep.
You know, the tie, the cufflinks, the socks.
Yep.
They
All
drink
that.
fucking $50 cups of coffee and shit, and $300 glass of wines.
Yep.
You know, and they'll just keep it coming. That, you know, it doesn't mean anything to them, and you could tell, like, in their spirit or their gait, they're not in trouble as every man. You know, they don't have that financial stress,
Right.
or the stress of this world. They're comforted in this world. But see, all that is reversing all through the preaching of the word.
That's it.
Okay?
Let's go.
Yep. Jump back down to 12. It says, stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail.
Yeah, so try to get some type of incantation, you know, some type of spell, you know, some type of, you know, throw some bones, you know, or sacrifice some type of animal or human to try to continue on in your rule. See if that's going to work. It's not going to work. And you know this. You can see it coming, but you're so incensed, you know, if that's even a word. Incensed, you know, or you're just so inflamed, you know, with this new world order and how it's
pickled in the new world order.
Yeah, you pickled it, and how it's you know, coming to reality that you can't see your demise.
Also that pride. You know,
Yeah.
the pride of thy heart have deceived thee, thou that doest in the cliffs of the rock.
That's it.
You know, he done made it this far,
Yep.
you know, so why not go for it?
That's
And
right.
also tell you in Psalm the 49th chapter, you know, the inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever.
Yeah. They think they're never going down.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's the spirit that the Most High actually given them. Well, just like referencing going back to ancient Egypt, what is that in so many words you can sum up? The Most High hardening their heart, hardening their mind, because they can see it, but they really can't perceive and understand that this is that they're in. They see it sometimes, right? But then the Most High hit a switch.
Yep.
And they'll be like, nah, fuck that. Nah, we gonna be successful. And then Satan comes, hey, you're gonna be successful. Everything's gonna be all right. You can get through this. The Edomite ingenuity is the best. It's the top. You're the most supreme, advanced civilization ever in the earth.
Yep.
Your technology is gonna be able to get you out of anything. Okay, look how far you've been. Look how far you came from. What makes you think that you're not gonna be able to win?
Yeah.
That you're not gonna be able to succeed? Okay, and that's all the Most High deceiving them. They're actually being deceived by Satan.
That's it.
Okay.
You finna win, E. Demons are telling you finna win, E. Come on. But it's all a ruse. You know, you ain't gonna do a goddamn thing.
Verse
I
13,
think we got crossed.
it says, thou art weary of the multitude of thy counsels.
Right, and those are your what? Your secret counsels, the secret counsel of the wicked. You have many different secret counsels that, you know, where you have think tanks of, you know, what can we do, you know, to continue in our quest. You know, what other avenues have we not explored? You know, what's the best option for us, you know, in this setup? And everybody gives their suggestions, and the best suggestion gets the top seat.
Yeah, just like in the heavens, you know, when about Ahab,
Yep.
you know, who will go and persuade Ahab? You had a council in the heavens,
Yep.
and then you have the evil spirits that commune amongst each other and gave their suggestions of how they're going to do it.
That's it.
So, and this is why when they're in their secret council, or even like the World Economic Forum, which is open, but they have closed door meetings where they actually consult with witches and speak to spirits, conjure up spirits to see, okay, is this plan good? And the spirit might make a noise or some shit, or might appear and say, yeah, and then they'll go forth with that plan. Okay?
Well, leave a seat open for Satan.
Yep.
You know, in their counsel, Satan has a seat there.
And they've been winning for so long. They've been successful of destroying the whole earth and deceiving the whole earth. But see, if it were all possible, they shall deceive the very elect.
Yeah.
See, what you did not count for was the prophecies. Okay, and the elect waking up. You read about it, but you did not really understand it because you were so lifted up with pride that you thought that any enemy that comes up against you, you can take them down.
Right.
Even if it's the Most High, have technology to be able to do it.
Yep.
Okay?
You know, the pride of thy heart hath deceived thee. Is there more to that?
It says, thou art weary with the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee.
Right. So have let your witches and warlocks read the stars. Your weathermen. Let them try to come up with a solution. To help you to stay in power longer than what the Lord gave you already. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. That was appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. Crossing here or can we cross here? No. Damn, trash. Go ahead. Is that it?
That was it.
Okay, so back in Isaiah 13:3, it says, I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for my anger, even them that rejoice in my highness.
Right, so the prophets are sent out first, give the message, and afterwards the Lord sends the destruction, which is Yahushua and the angels. Now let's go from there to Isaiah 34. And we can start winding it down from there. Now, unless y'all got anything else.
Okay, I had going back into the beautiful tale of the destruction of the wicked, right?
Right.
Going back into Romans the 9th chapter, because this has been all preordained by the Most High. Why he allowed Esau? See, that's the thing with our people. They don't understand the mind of the Most High and why the Most High allowed wickedness to prosper in the earth.
Yep.
But it was only for a short season, so he could show his power. Say, who's boss?
Right.
I'm the boss. Okay.
It was also dealing with our power. He declared the end from the beginning. So the judgment was already set for Esau, Edom, but our power was spared. So he had to put in the works, to meet the judgment that was written for him.
That's it.
Isaiah 34 and
Start at the top.
Okay, yeah. Isaiah 34:1. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He has utterly destroyed them. He has delivered them to the slaughter.
All right, can you read that again?
Gone. Top.
Yep.
Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people.
Right, this message is to the whole world. This is the message to the whole world, not salvation for everybody.
It says, ye people, let the earth hear, and all that is therein. The world, and all things that come forth of it.
Go ahead.
For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations.
Yep, the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations. Go ahead.
And his fury upon all their armies.
And his fury upon all their armies. So the Lord, when he comes back, he's coming back to see the heads of these nations, the rulers, and their armies. He's not concerned. He's going to destroy the people, the average common person, but he's more concerned with the rulers and with the military, because that's how they push their wickedness upon the earth. Go ahead.
It says he has utterly destroyed them. He has delivered them to the slaughter.
Right, he has utterly destroyed them. He has delivered them to the slaughter. So what we read in here is a similar account to what we're reading in the book of Revelation, the 18th chapter. The difference is, in the book of Isaiah 34, it's not speaking about, in the book of Isaiah 34, it's not speaking about, anyone being made rich, by the costliness of their wares that they sell in Babylon the Great. But it's the destruction, the total annihilation of this place, and this particular chapter is equated with the Edomites, and that's the point. Like when the Lord said, who is this coming from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? That's Yahushua, coming back because he's going to be the one to take these devils down, you know, and their militaries. He's the one that gave them the blessing of the sword, and he's the one that's going to take it away.
It says, their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses.
Yeah, that's from the dead military men.
And the mountains shall be melted with their blood.
The mountains, you know, meaning the different governments of the world are going to be melted with their blood, meaning all of your militaries are going to be brought down. All of your plans, everything that you had for the future is going to be brought down. Because you had, I'm not sure what position he held, that Moabite that said that, look, China's been around for 5,000 years and we'll be around another 5,000 years. Well, yeah, you're going to be around another 5,000 years, but just not how you think. You know?
We have heard of the pride of Moab.
Yep.
See, and they're trying to, they reject what the Israelites are speaking. Because we're speaking a good message, you know, to our people, but it's a bad message, if you will, or bad news to the other nations.
Yeah.
You know? Which, see, the thing is, these other nations, they actually have that thought towards us, how they want to keep us in perpetual captivity, you know? But they try to, you know, sneak and say things like everything's equality, but really their whole thought process is to keep the Israelites, just like Psalms 83, the scriptures tell us.
Yeah.
You know, they consult with each other to keep the name of Israel from no more to be a remembrance down here on the earth. It's vaguely paraphrasing. Okay, so the Most High is going to turn all that hatred that you had towards his people against you.
Yeah.
Jeremiah 30:16. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thy adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity.
Everyone. You have more?
There's a little more here. It says, and the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree.
Right, so it says all the hosts of heaven shall fall. That's dealing with your militaries, your planes, your drones, your satellites, your space stations, you know, your helicopters, anything that you have up there in the heavens is going to come down. And that's what the Lord said, I seen Satan as lightning fall from heaven. And it says that once you fall from heaven, it says that no longer will you be going up there anymore. It says, its place shall be found no more in heaven, meaning you're not going to fly back up there into the heavens and have any type of, you know, satellite or plane or helicopter, drone, whatever. You ain't going to have nothing else up there.
Yep, it says,
your time is up.
for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my cursed judgment.
Right, and the Idumea is a Greek way of saying Edom. You know, and the Lord said that Edom, or the Edomites, are the people of the Lord's curse, which proves that when Yahushua comes back, when it says, who is it that coming from Edom, it's talking about this place, America, and it's talking about the Edomites. It's not just talking about the land of Edom, because there ain't really nothing really going on over there in the land of Edom, but you still have people that's moving around. You know, you have tourist attractions. You know, they have theaters and all different type of stuff like that. You have businesses that are around, you know. So that place has not, when these individuals say, like vocab say that the Edomites are done away with, you got to come with facts. Right. You know, here it is, you say, well, you're just repeating stuff, you get off line like everybody else, you know, but then here it is, when you got to prove something, you just say something and everybody just got to accept it. You know, does the fucking devil got some goddamn nerve? Go ahead.
It says, the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats.
Right, and that's dealing with the military men, the captains, you know, the chief, you know, military men of Esau, and the nations. You know, all of these different nations and the militaries, they're going to be brought down. And whatever weapons are left, you know, throughout the planet Earth, you know, after the devastation and the destruction and deliverance, you know, when the elect come down, Lord's will be the elect. When we come back down, you know, we'll be changed and go around the world, policing the world, you know, gathering up all these prisoners of the nations and destroying all of these weapons with spiritual power.
Woo! It says, with the fat of kidneys of rams, for the Lord has a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea.
Right, and this place here is going to be totally annihilated. This place is reserved for a special ass whooping, a special sacrifice. You know, the Lord is going, you know, take out his fury and his anger, his indignation, his righteous anger on this place. You know, and he's been waiting a long, long time to do it. And he's been very patient. You know, the scripture says he's long suffering. And the reason why he has to be long suffering is because of his word's sake.
Yeah, that's pretty much
That's it. You got anything else?
It's Job 20 and 23. I'm gonna read down through it pretty quick. It
And
says,
you could go into it.
it says, when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him.
Yep.
When it says about to fill his belly, which is establish his new world order.
That's right.
You know, it says when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. You know, so while he's eating, while he's sitting down at the table to eat, Yahweh Shai is going to come and turn the table over.
That's it.
You know, it says he shall flee from the iron weapon and the bow of steel shall strike him through. It is
What's that bow of the bow of steel?
the bow of steel is talking about the missiles.
That's it.
It says it is drawn out and cometh out of the body. Yea, the glittering sword cometh out of the gall. Terrors are upon him. Yeah, because he's about to be the king of terrors. And Heavenly Father, he's going to pour out his terror through those missiles, those ICBM warheads. All right, and also Yahweh Shai is going to return. You know, shooting fire. It's going to be fire upon fire.
Yeah.
You know, this is the tale of the wicked, man. Esau's mad because he's no longer able to control the narrative.
That's it.
You know, the true narrators are telling how it's going to go down. This is, all darkness shall be hid in his secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. Verse 27, the heavens shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him.
And you see that the earth, you know, the earth is turning up on Esau, you know, rising up against him because, you know, there's only so much destruction you could do to the earth before the earth starts fighting back.
Yep. It says the increase of his.
If I say it, because the earth has its own immune system.
Yep.
You know, it has its own immune system, and you have the virus Esau attacking the earth, bringing it down to destruction. The earth is fighting back at you, man.
Yep.
It's gonna spew. The earth is literally gonna spew you out, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, that's how the body does. You know, you give the body the right herbs, and it starts to, you know, get rid of sicknesses.
Yeah. Purge.
Purge the sicknesses out and spit the sicknesses out.
That's it. And you're about to be spewed out, Esau. Okay. And the ultimate medicine, Yahweh Shai, is coming. Because to, like, you know, say parasites or bacteria, you can take what certain medicines, which are good to your body but harmful to the attackers of the body. Like you have wormwood. Wormwood is in the right portion is good for your body, but it's harmful to any bacteria, any mold, any fungus, anything that's not supposed to be there. Okay. And Esau, you served your purpose.
Yep.
Now it's time for you to be destroyed. Okay.
Totally annihilated.
And that's the beautiful tale.
That's it.
Okay.
Of the destruction of the wicked.
of the wicked. Okay, they would not even comprehend the Most High's mind and His plan. We go this way.
That's
you
it.
know, of how they were going to go down. It's a beautiful tale. You know, the best story ever written.
Oh yeah.
And it's crazy because we're literally playing it out right now. We're living it. We're in it.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're at the
that
end.
climax point.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're pretty much in the, you know, the times that the prophets all wrote about.
Yep.
You know, everything that was written about, the ushering the very end of the world, we're actually living in those times right now. You know, and pretty soon, once they make this MOTV mandatory, which is a mic you see here, you know, then the very end is going to be made manifest.
Well, two more verses because the last verse goes perfect with the title. This verse 28, it says, the increase of his house shall depart, and his goods shall flow away in the day of his wrath.
Yep, because all of your goods, your dreams, aspirations, your goals, everything's going to be burnt up.
That's
It's
right.
going to go up in smoke.
Verse 29, this is the portion of a wicked man from the Most High.
This is a portion of a wicked man from the Most High. This is the payment that the Lord is going to give to the wicked, which are the Edomites.
Yep. And the heritage appointed unto him by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai.
Right, and then the next step after that is, after their total destruction, gathering up these devils and put them into hardcore slavery for 1,000 years.
That's right.
And after that, gather them all up in a big pit or however it's going to go down, and then burn them up.
That's it.
And then beautiful, you're gone forever. You served your purpose, you did what you had to do. Now it's time for you to go. You know, so that's a beautiful tale of the destruction of the wicked. Anything else you want to say?
That's it right there.
So with that, we pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time we say Shalom.
Wow.
Shalom.
Exactly 1 hour.